So here's some really interesting piece of information here that I noticed over on Twitter. It is that Bernie Sanders and his former press secretary Briahna Joy Gray seem to be on sort of different planes. Seems to be a disconnect, and there even may seem to be a sort of beef. I would even venture to say. So in this AP interview where he says that opposing Biden is quote irresponsible, um, it's an interesting piece in this. It says he seemed to distance himself from his campaign's former national press secretary, Briahna Joy Gray, when asked about a recent statement on social media refusing to endorse Biden. Quote, "She is my former press secretary, not on the payroll," Sanders noted. Spokesman later clarified that all campaign staffers were no longer on the payroll as of Tuesday, though they will get a severance check in May. So a very sort of dismissive thing, like, oh, she's my former press secretary, basically saying I don't want anything to do with her. I'm not going to defend her comment. Her comment has virtually nothing to do with me. She's not even on the payroll. So already from Bernie Sanders, there's a disconnect. He's like, yep, I'm not really claiming her. She's not really with me. I'm not really defending her or anything. What's interesting is if you go to this is Briahna Joy Gray's liked tweets. If you go up to her liked tweets tab, what ends up happening is you see this Kyle Kalinske tweet that she favorited, where he says, "What's irresponsible was repeatedly telling reporters Biden could beat Trump as working people across the country put their last $20 and what little hope they had left in your campaign." So what that signals is at the least there's a sort of disconnect with strategy, which there were certainly disagreements between strategy within the campaign. That's already been pretty well documented. People like David Sirota and some others were basically pressuring Bernie to go harder on Joe Biden, and I could have sworn she had favorited the tweet from Crystal Ball, where Crystal Ball basically says that Bernie Sanders was more interested in maintaining Democrats' power than his movement. So I can't find that here anymore. So maybe she didn't, or she just removed it. I'm not sure. I could have sworn she liked it, but probably I'm guessing she liked it and then removed it because she didn't want it in her list. But this is a pretty hefty statement for the former press secretary to basically be co-signing on. Also, I believe even favored one of Kyle's other tweets. But there's very clearly sort of this disconnect going on. And I just have to say that the Bernie Sanders campaign was extremely chaotic and very unorganized and very poorly run and very poorly set up. Now, Bernie Sanders is a really old guy. I don't think Briahna Joy Gray was really a good hire, honestly. I don't know what her experience in this field was. And if you're trying to question that, I mean, look at who was his 2016 press secretary? Simone Sanders. So obviously the guy doesn't have a track record of hiring good people in these certain positions. Although, to be fair, he actually regressed. Because in 2016, he had some really good strategists on there. That's why they had successful ad campaigns. That's why they had a lot of successful strategies that pushed them. Remember, the campaign was going on well till the end, to the convention. We were actually catching a lot of steam in the middle, but the superdelegates, that count kind of clouded, and so towards the end of the campaign, we started losing because the narrative changed. But we were picking up wins left and right in the middle of that campaign, you know what I mean? Washington, Alaska, Hawaii, all these states, Michigan, Wisconsin, picking up states left and right, man, like crucial states. Whereas this time we've regressed heavily. So I think Briahna Joy Gray was a poor hire because I think that there wasn't good communication within the Bernie Sanders campaign, so everyone's sort of on their own thing. Like, for example, David Sirota had a publication called Hear the Burn that wasn't representative of the campaign. It was representative of David Sirota. Do you know how crazy that is? You have a publication titled Hear the Burn, and it's representative not of the views of the campaign or the message of the campaign, but David Sirota. That's insane. And so Faiz Shakir, who's the campaign chair, he's supposed to stay back at HQ to make sure everyone is on the same wavelength. Instead, he's traveling with Bernie Sanders everywhere, which is not what a campaign chair is supposed to be. Another garbage hire. Faiz Shakir, another garbage hire. A newbie, doesn't have any experience in this field, doesn't know what he's doing, mismanaging the budget, making stupid decisions left and right. And then this is what you get, is a crazy campaign. And so Briahna Joy Gray, really kind of all she did this whole campaign was kind of just, Twitter fingers, basically just aimlessly sort of beefing with people on Twitter, stoking a lot of battles that were sort of unnecessary. She just kind of was a Twitter troll, honestly. And then even her TV appearances were pretty garbage, honestly. I mean, she didn't do a good job of, even delivering herself. You want to look at someone who's a really good surrogate on TV. I would say Crystal Ball was really great, and I would say Nina Turner was pretty damn good too when she went on TV. But Briahna Joy Gray, she would always mess up, and it was almost like Dementia Joe, honestly. But a terrible hire for the campaign. I don't know how she helped the campaign in any way. And all of this sort of Twitter stuff, I think the battle with Elizabeth Warren, I think was sort of part of kind of the beginning of the end, because basically what ended up happening was, and the fault on that mainly lies with Elizabeth Warren for basically smearing Bernie Sanders as a sexist, but it was like that whole thing allowed Joe Biden to hide as the battle was heating up between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and then it's just like you get irreparable damage done where Elizabeth Warren supporters aren't going to go to Bernie after she inevitably loses. And then Joe Biden gets to hide and sort of train in the hyperbolic time chamber as they're beefing, so he gets to hide. Do his little hits on Tom Steyer at the South Carolina debate because he's mad at him for pulling the black vote, and then be able to just kind of maneuver and do his thing and then win South Carolina. It's like, whoa, what happened? And it's like, oh, wait, you just spent all your time beefing with Elizabeth Warren. So the snake emojis, I have to say that it was an unfortunate situation that was caused by Elizabeth Warren because she smeared the guy as a sexist, which is unacceptable, and so she deserved every snake emoji she got. But I don't really know anything that Briahna Joy Gray did for the campaign other than basically just Twitter troll, pretty much. Is pretty much it. Really poor hires from the Bernie campaign, a lot of chaos, not on good wavelengths. And even though they had more diversity, man, I don't think that they really had any good black representation for the people that they wanted to get. So Nina Turner is black, all right? But she's from Ohio, that's Northeast. The black vote we're really getting screwed in is the South. Briahna Joy Gray ain't going to get you shit with black voters in the South. Same thing with Nina Turner. She's not from South Carolina. And she was like the head of that. They barely even had a machine in South Carolina, bro. And she was the head of that. And it's like, why would you have Nina Turner from Ohio be the head of your South Carolina campaign? Who was like the head, like the big gun in South Carolina for the Joe Biden campaign? Jim Clyburn. Where is he from? South Carolina. So there's clearly a disconnect and just basic lack of common sense among the Bernie campaign. I mean, what a joke. They weren't even supporting like local black, legislators in South Carolina who were supporting their campaign. They're like, dude, what the fuck? We're kind of out here to dry, so we're supporting your campaign. Oh my goodness, what a crap show this campaign was, dude. And so instead of having like a machine, bring in people from South Carolina who are black representatives, people who know the area geographically. South Carolina, you can extrapolate into the other southern states. Briahna Joy Gray is not going to help you with shit. Same thing with Nina Turner. She's not going to do it. She's not going to be able to do anything. So big fails on behalf of the Bernie campaign. And we have to be hypercritical here. We do. We have to throw every single criticism at the wall right now, Bernie Sanders' campaign. Then we need to go to the wall after it's all thrown, analyze it, see what seems plausible, what seems not plausible, see what we think is legit and what's not. And then we need to pick and look, which ones are legit, which ones aren't. And I think that unfortunately the campaign was plagued by horrible strategies. I think Bernie Sanders was a big wimp and a sissy. And he refused to attack Joe Biden, which is embarrassing, especially on the issue of electability. Nothing whose buns out was getting endorsements. Endorsements rule politics, unfortunately, because people sort of vote based on name recognition and endorsements, unfortunately. But there's a lot of stuff that the Bernie campaign simply didn't do right. And not a fan of the Briahna Joy Gray hire. Don't think it was a good hire. Same thing goes for the Faiz Shakir hire. But it's a pretty big deal for sure that Bernie and his former press secretary are beefing.